December 13th, and this is the Poway Unified School District Board of Education regular meeting. And we are in here at 6:04, calling to order. At this time, for our report out of closed session, Clerk Patapow, your final report out.
Final report, okay. On board action, on motion by T.J. Zane and a second by Ms. Beatty, and by a roll call vote, the board voted unanimously to ratify the acceptance of the settlement offer in case number 37 2015-00008862-CU-PO-CTL. Item number 2, no action taken. Number 2 is pulled from the agenda. Number 3, no reportable action. Number 4, in the matter of public employee discipline dismissal release complaint, ID number 457456, on a motion by Ms. Beatty and seconded by Mr. T.J. Zane, the board voted to accept the staff recommendation of 5 days suspension with loss of pay. The vote was unanimous. That's that. Number 5, there's no reportable action, and number 6, no reportable action. Closed session adjourned at 5 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Clerk Patapow. At this time, I invite you to stand and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Please note that all members are in attendance tonight, including our student member, Ms. Smith. And for our welcome to the public, Mr. Sellers.
Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Poway Unified School District Board of Education. If you would like to address the board on any agenda item, please complete a speaker slip. All requests to speak must be submitted to the clerk of the board before the agenda item appears. Item C is placed on our agenda to enable members of our community to bring items that are not placed anywhere else on the agenda to the board's attention. If there are concerns regarding specific individuals, it is preferred that the speaker refrain from naming them publicly out of respect for their privacy. The board will accept and review any written materials that would provide more specific information. The Brown Act does not permit board action or extended discussion of any item not on the agenda, but your concerns will be referred to staff. With that, welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Sellers. And I'm going to skip ahead just briefly out of order, and let's do our minutes here. Item A7. Are there any amendments anyone would like to offer? I had one on item H. I think we should note in there that we had, under H, agendized our Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team review for special education, and that the board directed staff to bring a contract for board consideration at the next meeting. And with that change, I'd move to approve.
Second.
Any additional changes before I call that vote? All in favor of approving the regular meeting November 15th, 2016 with that small change to item H, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And I'm sorry, I forgot to note yours before everyone else, Ms. Smith.
In favor.
All right, thank you. So that passes unanimously. Thanks very much. And now let's go back to our A6, I believe, board member reports. And let's start down at the end then with Ms. Smith, our student board member.
Great. First and foremost, I wanted to welcome Dr. Apostle. He attended our Superintendent Student Advisory Committee meeting a few weeks ago, and we had a very lengthy and meaningful conversations about the needs, ideas, and concerns of students, and the students all applauded his receptiveness, and we're definitely looking forward to having him at our future meetings. Something else on my mind, I'd like to gear more of my efforts towards the K-8 students in our district, since the perspective I currently have is of a high school student, and I am just that, like a high school student. This was sparked by my 9-year-old sister, a 4th grader at Park Village, who raved about Westview and her eagerness to study hard after the Westview ambassadors came to her school. A few high schools in our district have this great program where dozens of high schoolers will put on character counts assemblies and perform skits to local elementary schoolers. After this 90-minute presentation, my sister and her friends were completely sold on Westview, school spirit, and academics, a mentality I would really love to have as I approach finals in a few weeks. All joking aside, I want to look into establishing a sort of mentorship between the leadership, associated student body students in our high schools by having them go to our local elementary schools and perhaps present to the elementary schoolers once or create ongoing mentorship opportunities between the students. And I look forward to running this idea by the ASB presidents here and see if this is something their advisors could feasibly help orchestrate. Additionally, the San Diego School Board passed a formal resolution to value peace, tolerance, and respect for multiple perspectives. It calls on Trump to reverse his position opposing Obama's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, which issued work permits and deportation reprieves to immigrants brought illegally to the U.S. as children. And similarly, resolutions have been passed through California, including Los Angeles School Board and I believe Chula Vista Elementary School District, according to the San Diego Union Tribune. And the document states that the fears felt by some district students following the recent presidential election, fears that their friends, family, or loved ones were at risk of being harmed, pose significant barriers to their well-being and ability to learn. And the resolution directs the superintendent and district staff to take whatever steps necessary to maintain the safety and openness of the school community and to document these steps. And I thought a similar resolution would be one we would consider passing, but resolution or no resolution, I believe that our values of tolerance and respect for our students' diverse upbringings, perspectives, and views are ones irrevocable to Poway Unified. And I hope that our district staff and teachers will do whatever it takes to maintain this and ensure the well-being of all of our students. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Sellers.
I don't have any formal comments other than to let you know I did attend the California School Boards Association Annual Education Conference up in San Francisco. It was very informative. I attended a lot of very good workshops on topics extremely pertinent to PUSD, and I look forward to sharing those findings and experiences with my fellow board members. I want to welcome Dr. Apostle as interim superintendent and Dr. Patel as our new board member. And I want to wish Andy well and thank him for the half-century of service to PUSD's kids. And I want to wish you better luck on your second retirement than you had on your first one. I don't know if any of you are aware, but he was retired all of one glorious year before he was dragooned into coming and serving on the board for another 20. So I hope that you get a peaceful next 20, because the last 20 weren't so peaceful, obviously.
Well, December is packed with wonderful year-end activities, including concerts, sports banquets, and seasonal events. And I'm so glad I had the opportunity this past weekend to experience the Amazing Race cultural event at D39C with cultural experiences from China, India, Mexico, the Philippines, Japan, Korea, Iran, and the United States, and we all had passport books to have fun with. They put on a great event, and our own, the MC was our own Christine Peck, our communications director. This has also been the season of elections. I'm grateful to have been reelected for a second term by our community. I'm very excited to continue my work on your behalf, to create an accountable, responsive, and ethical model school district that truly puts our students first. Thank you for all your support. I intend to continue my mission to restore student programs and class sizes to at least where they were back in 2002 when my children were first starting out in elementary school. I will continue to foster community partnerships to encourage the growth of programs such as our district-wide foundation, school business partnerships, farm-to-table programs, and more, all for our students. And I know my fellow board members are interested in collaborating on these adventures as well. and I look forward to those discussions. I would also like to recognize Andy for his 2 decades of service on our board. We will miss you. You have worn the hat of the wise elder, guiding us with your stories of prior boards and superintendents in order to help inform our collective decision-making. And I'll never forget your kind and gentle words when my father passed away. I wish you and Pat the best in your new journey with all your grand and great-grandkids. And I don't know who's going to take the place of the other person who eats too much food. Besides me. Tonight we welcomed Darshana to our board. I got to know her during the campaign, and like others, I was impressed with her community involvement, knowledge of our district, and her enthusiasm. Our community chose well, and there were many great candidates to choose from. Welcome, Darsh. I look forward to working with you, and welcome to all of you to our meeting tonight. Thank you.
We're going to save Andy's comment till last and move on to Mr. Zane now. Best for last.
Thank you. First, just as an aside, a number of you commented that you didn't recognize me because I wasn't wearing a bow tie tonight. So I decided to go casual tonight, so I hope you'll understand. It's a party for Andy. An update on activities over the past couple of weeks. I and other board members attended CSBA in San Francisco, and Board President O'Connor Ratcliffe and I attended the Symposium for Experienced Board Members and covered such topics as law and regulations underlying the local control funding formula, how to align board direction to district goals, dealing with board member conflict of interest issues, a brief legal overview of the Brown Act, and Title IX compliance. On the 6th, so just a few days ago, Board Member O'Connor Ratcliffe, and I also had the privilege of attending Black Mountain Middle School's AVID recertification presentation, and that was very informative, and kudos to Black Mountain for all the hard work that they're doing there. I look forward on Thursday to attending the graduation out of Braxis. I also welcome Dr. Apostle this evening, and Dr. Patel, another fellow board member now out of Rancho Penasquitos. And in closing, I want some words for Andy. You will be missed. My wife is probably watching now, so I have to make this quick because she knows I am kind of a softie when it comes to these sorts of things. I do get choked up. I do consider you a mentor in many regards. You have very kind words. You sent some very helpful things to help, very fatherly type things in terms of how to deal with my own kids. I'll miss that. I will miss your always pointing out the importance of putting students first. You're always the one to bring back the board to that important notion of putting students first. I wish you well. I wish you more time with your wife, Pat. I know she wishes for that too. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Merry Christmas.
All right, TJ took a couple of my items away, so I'll be quicker now. But it has been a few quick weeks since our last board meeting and with the Thanksgiving break in there, but there are a few things I do still want to mention. Obviously, we have someone new sitting in this chair, so another welcome to Dr. Apostle. Right before Thanksgiving break, I visited Oak Valley Middle School to find out more about Project Lead the Way over there. So Principal Kurgan was very, very kind to host me on way too short a notice. I wanted to go, and I said, how about today? No, and he was ready. So thank you also to the teachers and the students there whose day I clearly interrupted. But it was a lot of fun. On paper, just in case you don't know, Project Lead the Way is project-based technology and engineering program for middle school students, and it's focused on creativity and innovation. And wow, Principal Kurgan walked me through an advanced coding class where the students were using Android tablets in there to create their own apps. So that was pretty unreal. I loved that. And then we went into the engineering and robotics class where 7th and 8th graders were working in small groups where they were designing the engineering part and building a working robot, which also included coding. The project was to aid human survival after a rebuilding civilization after a big world catastrophe. So it was a fun setup, and the students were amazing. I spoke with a couple of groups of the students there. Could not believe these were 7th and 8th graders. our community is raising and educating some really amazing kids, and just 2 classrooms worth that I saw there convinced me of that again. Black Mountain's Avid recertification, thank you to Principal Kirpolani for inviting me. The presentation there with the teacher, counselor, administrative team was incredibly impressive. That recertification is a slam dunk if you ask me. And like other board members, I also attended the CSBA conference, attended that legal symposium for experienced board members. My favorite was the Title IX compliance presentation, so I can't wait to dig a little bit deeper into that in PUSD. Well, several other great events have been happening in the district, but we're racing towards our 2-week winter break. We're about to welcome Dr. Patel here, but I want to spend the rest of my time here talking about Mr. Patel. Andy has been a really, really supportive presence since my very first day on the board here. He's encouraged me. He's pointed me in the right direction. Go that way. He's provided really an invaluable historical perspective, and we know that that goes way, 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 way back. But overall, he's been an outstanding colleague. And the most important thing about Andy is how much he cares about our students. And Mr. Zane touched on this as well. But over the 2 years that I've had to serve with him, he has constantly reminded all of us that we're here for the kids and that our students are and should always be our #1 priority, and that if we haven't mentioned students in a while, we better figure out why and get back to it as soon as possible. Andy, I know we'll all do our best to carry on your consistent student focus, and that's not going to be easy to do, but I'm going to miss you and your presence up here, so thank you. Thank you for everything. Your service has meant the world to us. Thank you. That's it.
Well, thank you, board members, for your reports.
He doesn't want me to talk.
I think he wants to say something? I think you want to say something then. Okay.
Michelle approached me. She said, I'm going to have you go last. And I said, okay, whatever turns you on. I said, that's fine. But you forgot to tell Dr. Apostle. That's okay. Everybody, that just proves that you're...
This is hazing. That's what it is.
That proves he's a regular guy. See,
That's right.
he's left out and he doesn't get mad. See, he's still smiling. But anyway, number one, I can't give up this opportunity to what do you want to say? Get even, or not get even, but to match my wife. Okay, there's a little story behind this. My wife told me, well, I don't want to speak, and if they ask me to speak, I don't want to speak. And then all of a sudden, we get, I find out that she's going to make a speech, and which she's the only one, and I almost lost it. I have to share that with her. I almost lost it because she's been with me for the past 50 years. Everything I've done, I'll have to tell you a little story. You don't get a chance. Not everybody gets a chance to interview their wife before they get married. Okay. See, I hired her as my nurse's aide back at Abraxas back in 1978, and we've been together for 34 years. I think I made a good choice when I hired her and also asked her to marry me. So I think I'm on a winning streak there. But anyway, I want to thank her especially for all her support, her love, compassion, and being able to juggle everything: a job, kids, family, 9 grandchildren, 6 great-grandchildren. She tells me it's 5, but I think it's 6. Anyway, and as far as the community goes, I have to thank you all for your support and your continued support. No matter where I go on in this district, there's always someone, and a student comes out to me and he says, "Hi, Andy, how you doing?" And I look at him, and God help me, I can't remember all these names way back when. I just say, what year? And they'll fill me in on what year and tell me what's happening, and fantastic where they are right now in their life. And that means the world to me, and that's all you need. You don't need anything else other than that. You know your life's worthwhile. And then I like to, again, wish Dr. Patel all the success in the world. Talking a little bit to her, I feel very good and very positive of her energy and how she feels about kids especially, okay? And on that, I'd like to give one last shot at the board to say, when you consider anything, remember the kids are first in all your decisions. How does it affect the kids? What will it do to them? And we won't have any problem. And thank you very much.
Well, it's very difficult to follow Andy's heartfelt comments this evening, and I have had an opportunity to get to know Andy briefly, and I'll have more to say about that in just a moment. But I want to say thank you to the board members for their reports. As you know, tonight is my first board meeting as interim superintendent. I want to thank you all for the warm welcome that I've received in the past month. I've really enjoyed visiting schools, meeting staff and students and community members, and as I get to know the district, I'm falling in love with this place that all of you have fallen in love with as well. One of the first people that I met here on the board is retiring board member Andy and Patapau. And Andy, I have something to give you. Will you step out in front of the dais, please? As many of you know, Andy has faithfully served this district as a board member for 20 years. Before that, as an outstanding educator in Poway Unified for 29 years. Through it all, his dedication to our students and staff has been steadfast and unwavering. And for that, we express our deep admiration and gratitude. Mr. Patapau, we thank you for your service and know that you will always be a part of the work that we do each day. It is my honor to present this plaque to you, and I'll read the plaque. In special recognition to Andy Patapau for outstanding leadership and 20 years of dedicated service to our students as a trustee of the Poway Unified School District Board of Education, December 1996 to December 2016. A significant legacy, and congratulations. Thank you. So, retiring board member Patapau, you are excused this evening, and you're welcome to stay for the entire meeting. And another important event taking place this evening is the annual organization meeting for our school board. And I wanted to extend my warm congratulations to our elected board members, Ms. Kimberly Beatty and Dr. Patel, for their coming on board. Ms. Beatty is coming on for her second 4-year term, and Dr. Patel is starting her first term. I would like both of them to come forward, and on behalf of Cabinet and District staff, we look forward to continuing to work together to strengthen our mission of college and career readiness for all students. And at this time, we will swear in Ms. Beatty and Dr. Patel, and so you please come forward. You will state your name after I start off with I. So the oath of office will begin. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations, Dr. Patel. Take the open seat on the dais, and congratulations to both of you. And now I will turn it over to Madam President to conduct the remaining board business, which will begin with new board member comments.
I've got this one. I don't need yours. So at this time, as soon as you settle in there, Dr. Patel, I invite you to make a board member comment as well. Whenever you're ready.
Let's hope this seat is tall enough for me. Good evening, community, staff, and fellow board members. I'm honored and excited to be joining the PUSD Board of Education. This election cycle, like the one 2 years ago, confirms that we are in an era of very strong community engagement. We had 9 candidates vying for 2 empty seats on the board, multiple well-attended candidate forums, and countless community group questionnaires. I know that my message of optimism, focus on student education, and respectful engagement resonated with the community because of the resounding election results. Throughout the election process, I had several people ask, what exactly does a board member do? A board member is a trustee, a person who holds a position of responsibility for the benefit of another, with the intent to achieve the collective good while not exclusively furthering the interest of a special constituency. In fact, we have very specific board policy that confirms that board members shall hold the education of students above any partisan principle, group interest, or personal interest. There certainly is a steep learning curve in becoming a trustee. Between election night in November and tonight, I've already met with the interim superintendent, Dr. Tony Apostle, twice. I've been up to San Francisco for the California School Board Association meeting with some other board members here. And I've had a 2-day new elected official orientation put on by the San Diego Taxpayers Association, which was very helpful and informative in negotiating the public space. I've also visited Westwood Elementary School for their Make Change Count for Schools donation meter unveiling. That was a wonderful experience too. Also, I too have experienced some of the challenges due to PeopleSoft. So I can officially empathize with staff now. I'm ready to make the most of every opportunity on behalf of PUSD. I'm looking forward to meeting with the senior staff, with visiting every school site and every facility site in the district, and of course, hiring our new next superintendent. Working respectfully together, our board has the ability to address all the challenges facing our district, whether those be with budget shortfalls, providing education equity for all of our students, or effectively communicating with our community. Granted, we might not always reach a 5-0 vote on every single issue, but I'm optimistic that we will reach our decisions with informed, professional deliberation. This is our responsibility as a trustee. Thank you very much, and I look forward to serving this community.
Thank you, Dr. Patel, and welcome once again. Now it's time for our annual board organization, where we elect our board officers and appoint representatives to various committees. And students, you're so patient, and I promise you're coming up as soon as we're done with this. You're next. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Did somebody warn you ahead of time? I hope so. Oh, great. Okay. We're organized like that. Thank you. Okay, so as current president, our policy requires that I conduct the nomination and election for president. After that, the newly elected president will do the same for the vice president and clerk, and then go through and assign committees. So we'll do it just like last year then, I propose. And I got distracted by the beautiful young ladies leaving. But we'll do it just like last year and take all nominations first, and no seconds are going to be necessary, just like last year. So once all the nominations are in, we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Smith's preferential vote. You can also abstain, always. Then going in last name alphabetical order. So that will be Beatty, O'Connor, Ratcliffe, Patel, Sellers, Zane. So with that, are there any nominations for board president?
Madam Chair, I would like to propose a format for us to follow that adheres to the rich tradition in Poway Unified. Historically, our Board of Education has always rotated the officer positions for the sake of fairness and harmony. This tradition was abandoned last year, and formal elections were held, creating the most divisive board in recent memory. And this divisiveness was a prominent campaign issue that was put forward by candidates, the coalition, and even the local newspaper. So I'd like to call on my fellow board members to join me in the spirit of harmony and the Poway Unified tradition, and to join in support of returning to the tradition of rotating positions. I believe this is an opportunity for all of us to come together and rebuild that harmonious governance team. For the sake of history, I have here to show you over a decade of what harmonious rotations look like. If you will pass these down. So this is an opportunity for all of us. I think I have one more for if staff would like this. This is an opportunity for all of us to come together. As you can see here in this document, the president steps down, the vice president becomes president, the clerk becomes the vice president, and the next in line then becomes clerk. The president historically would make the motion, and the board would approve all the positions with a 5-0 vote. And this has been the board's practice for decades. So I would like to see this tonight. I think this will set the tone for positive consensus building for this new term for our governance team coming into the new year. I think it's important to show our students and our community that we can do this.
Thank you for that input. At this time, then, I'd like to take nominations for the office of president.
Based on that statement regarding the adherence to rotations, I would like to propose that Mr. Zane become the president, I become the vice president, and Ms. Beatty become the clerk.
I've established the way we're going to do this, so if you'd like to make a nomination for president at this time.
All right, I nominate Mr. Zane for president.
That's one nomination for Mr. Zane.
Can we have a discussion on what I've put forward as a proposal?
I've already put forward the way that we did it last year. This is how our board policy reads, that we'll do it this way. If we'd like to make a change for next year and do it a different way, we can certainly discuss that under an agenda item at a future meeting, and I would invite all of us to have that discussion.
Well, the policy just says we can still adhere to the policy. And the policy dictates, which I would note the boards loosely followed it, but the policy dictates that the current president run the elections for the new president. We don't need to deviate from that, but we can still have the discussion as to whether or not we will embrace the rich tradition that has historically been the way the board governed with regard to officer positions. And that was, that we create a fair process so that everybody, nobody feels slighted, everybody has an opportunity to grow and learn through these positions, and they're sort of rotated through year over year, and it creates for a harmonious environment.
Mr. Zane.
Thank you. First of all, I appreciate the nomination. I appreciate the arguably the history lesson, but I'll also contend that times are being such that they are. We had a somewhat tumultuous past year or so wherein we had a superintendent leave, we had an acting superintendent, we had an interim superintendent for briefly 3 days. We had an acting superintendent again. We have a new interim superintendent. We're in the search for a permanent superintendent. I would like to nominate Ms. O'Connor Ratcliffe for re-election to the office of president.
Well, Mr. Zane, it's my personal belief that you and I are next up in the rotation for president. You being the vice president, it stands to reason that you would be the next president. I'm going to assume by your nomination of Ms. O'Connor Ratcliffe that you are declining your own nomination for president.
That's correct.
Okay. I think that what's being proposed here is unprecedented. It's never happened in the history of this board. We've never had a president serve 2 terms in a row. You know, I would be okay with it if it were by acclamation, if everyone agreed this was the right thing to do. But everyone doesn't agree that this is the right thing to do. And, you know, the rest of us have waited patiently for our chance at leadership and our chance to help guide the district in these various capacities. And I don't see a compelling reason to break from that very long-standing tradition. So in that vein, I'm going to go ahead and nominate myself for president.
Okay, are there any additional nominations? Because I've heard Mr. Zane turn down his nomination. Mr. Sellers has nominated himself. Mr. Zane has nominated me. So between Mr. Sellers and Ms. O'Connor Ratcliffe, we have 2 nominations. Are there any additional nominations at this time for president? I believe that the vote on this will pretty emphatically tell everyone whether we're interested in doing a rotation. I personally believe that a rotation is a lovely concept, but it's more important for us as trustees to do what's best for the school district and what we feel is best, and that's the reason we vote. Otherwise, we wouldn't need a vote if we were just going to rotate, and we clearly are having an election of officers here, in my view. So I think it's time now to vote if there are no other further nominations.
Well, I think I would take issue with that because this had been a tradition, an historical tradition since time immemorial.
I think you've
where
made your
the
position
board-
clear, but time immemorial goes back further than 2006.
Okay, 11 years this is the data that I presented, 11 years worth of a custom of rotating positions that engendered harmony among board members, and I think that's really very important. It's a sharing of the wealth. Everyone is going, 3 board members are going into their 3rd year, myself into my 5th year. Mr. Sellers has never been an officer, and this would, under this proposal, your proposal, you would be an officer for 3 years in a row. Does that seem fair? We're trying to create a system that's fair.
Ms. Smith.
Maybe this is something I should be staying out of, but Dr. Patel just illuminated to us or just reminded us what it means to be a trustee. And from my perspective, being a trustee is doing what's best for the community. It doesn't necessarily mean following tradition. And then if tradition is so important to us, maybe we need to question why it's been a tradition. To move forward, I believe it's doing what's right and what the public would want. And what the public would want, I believe, is the best individual in office. And if that's, it would be great to see a unanimous agreeal by the Board of Education of who that individual is, but sometimes it just takes a majority, if that makes sense.
With that, I'd like to proceed with the roll call vote, going in the order that we said. You can vote, you can abstain or vote for O'Connor, Ratcliffe, or Sellers, and I'll start with Ms. Smith and your preferential vote, which actually doesn't. Ms. Beatty, you're out of order at this point.
No, I just would like to ask a point of clarification. Are we still in discussion? Because normally when you make a nomination, then
Ms.
you have
Beatty, you're the only one
discussions.
speaking. No one else is interested in speaking at this point.
Which means I'm prohibited from speaking?
How much more do you have to share?
Just a few more points. So what we're trying to achieve here, what I would like to see is for our governance team to finally come together and not have the kind of divisiveness that featured prominently during the campaign, where the community, yes, Ms. Smith, the community asked above all else for the board to come together and work harmoniously, because the divisiveness had become a distraction, and it was taking the focus away from the children. And this was the resounding theme that came through, and Ms. Patel said that one of her goals was to be a consensus builder, a uniter on the board, and that fundamentally is in the best interest of the children and of the community. So it's not tradition for the sake of tradition. This is something that we do in Poway. We take the traditions that have been a successful model. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And this clearly was a successful model because you had positive board working relationships. And I just saw it yesterday at the Personnel Commission meeting, where they did precisely that. They just rotated their officer positions, and it was very amicable. So I'm calling for an amicable coming together of the board and to end the divisiveness. And the problem is that we've had some serious issues with your tenure as president on the board. Ms. O'Connor Radcliffe, you held secret meetings with the former Superintendent Collins.
That's out of order entirely. I'm going to call the vote now. Ms. Smith.
O'Connor.
Mr. Sellers. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going in alphabetical. I forgot. Ms. Beatty.
Mr. Sellers.
O'Connor Ratcliffe. And I'm sorry, Ms. Dr. Patel.
O'Connor Ratcliffe.
And Mr. Zane.
O'Connor Ratcliffe.
You skipped me.
And, oh, I did. I'm so sorry. I said alphabetical. I should have just gone down the line. I apologize, Mr. Sellers.
I will vote for Sellers.
All right, so that is 2 votes for Mr. Sellers, 3 votes for Ms. O'Connor Ratcliffe, and a preferential vote for O'Connor Ratcliffe. With that, I'm sitting here. With that, then I'll continue on with the vice president nominations, and I'd like to do them the same way. And I'd like to nominate Mr. Zane for vice president. Any other nominations?
Yes, I will nominate myself for vice president.
Zane and Sellers, any further nominations for vice president? With that, and I'm going to get it right this time, I apologize. Ms. Smith.
Zane.
Ms. Beatty.
Sellers.
O'Connor Ratcliffe. Zane. Patel.
TJ Zane.
Mr. Sellers.
Sellers.
Mr. Zane.
Zane.
With that, that is 2 votes for Mr. Sellers, 3 votes for Mr. Zane. Mr. Zane is vice president. Now we'll move on to clerk. I'd like to nominate Mr. Sellers.
I would respectfully like to decline the nomination in favor of Ms. Beatty.
I would like to then nominate Ms. Patel. Any further nominations? And with that, Ms. Smith.
I'd like to abstain.
Abstention is perfectly fine here. Ms. Beatty.
Ms. Beatty.
O'Connor Ratcliffe. Ms. Patel. Sorry, Dr. Patel. My apologies. Dr. Patel.
This is a tough one. Thanks. Dr. Patel.
Mr. Sellers.
Beatty.
Mr. Zane.
Dr. Patel.
And that is 2 votes for Ms. Beatty, 3 votes for Dr. Patel. Our officers have been selected. We need a short recess to change the dais nameplates I have a note about. All right, very short recess at this time then.
Wow. I can't believe Darsh voted for herself. Brand new board member.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm stunned. I really am.
For consensus building.
Because her son is graduating, and I wanted her to sign the diploma. You're a brand new board member. You have no business being an officer. When we had 3 of them, and we had no choice but to make one an officer. It wasn't the job. It wasn't the job I wanted, and it wasn't the job this board needed me to do.
You have to advice of year. Congratulations. It's no point in talking to her.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I really am. Well, and also Ella's a coward.
She goes with the majority.
Well, but she didn't. She abstained on the 3rd vote.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cowardice.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show this to
All right, we're back. At this point, we're going to continue with this item. This is appointments to the board committees. So for the benefit of Dr. Patel, whoever is the current rep, I'd love it if you could very briefly describe your committee and how often they meet, and I guess just share whether you'd like to keep it or if you're open to moving on. So the County Board of Education representative is Ms. Beatty. Ms. Beatty, are you interested in keeping that? Would you like to share what that's been like this past year? County Board of Education? How many times have you met this past year?
I've had representatives from the county board quarterly.
Quarterly, okay. I know I would love to hear updates on that if you're going to continue in that position. I'd love that.
Okay.
That would be interesting. Is anyone else interested in that position? If not, Ms. Beatty can keep that.
I'm interested. I'd like to be an alternate if she can attend. Or do they have an option for 2 people attending?
I think an alternate would be best, yeah.
Okay, so that'll be Ms. Beatty and Dr. Patel is an alternate there for County Board of Education representative. The next one is California Association of Suburban School Districts representatives. We have 2 who have generally gone up and a third alternate. It's been Mr. Zane and I, and that's quarterly also. That's a trip up to Sacramento, and up and back. It's
One day.
a little rough. The flight out is at 6:30 in the morning, and the flight back is at rush hour around 5. It's been lots of fun, loads of fun, in fact. I would be willing to keep it or give it to someone new. And Ms. Beatty has been the alternate, and I believe she went to one of the 3 or of the 4 quarterly meetings this past year.
I'm willing to keep it as well, unless somebody else has an interest wants to.
And Ms. Beatty, are you interested in staying in that? with that
That's
group?
fine, unless anyone else would like to be an alternate.
Anybody
that's
else
fine.
interested in that one?
Not to sound too eager, but I am interested.
Maybe a pattern.
We can put 2 who would regularly go and a third who's an alternate. Ms. Beatty, would you like to remain the alternate or?
So Mr. Zane is not going to be a
No,
regular?
he is interested in keeping it.
Okay. Then Ms. Patel can be the alternate, and I will
Okay.
relinquish that.
So we'll move that to Mr. Zane and Ms. Beatty, and then Ms. Patel, Dr. Patel as an alternate, and
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you're not going?
no, I was gonna move out for Dr. Patel since she's interested.
Oh, Dr. Patel, you want to be a permanent or an alternate?
If you would like to be permanent, I'm fine with you doing it. I'm also fine with going.
Okay, I'll be the alternate, and I'll let you be the permanent.
Okay, so I will switch that, and Miss Beatty will be the alternate. Okay. New travel buddies. It's fun times early in the morning. All right. The California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly has been Mr. Sellers. Would you like to remain in that position, Mr. Sellers? You shared with Mr. Patapow, correct? Oh, you didn't. Okay, my mistake.
It may have supposed to be working that way, but it didn't work that way. Andy had travel restrictions that limited him. It's 2 meetings a year, 2 days per meeting, so there is an overnight to Sacramento or wherever it is they happen to have the meetings. I'm happy to remain in that capacity unless there's somebody else who has a burning desire to do it. There is a certain learning curve to it, I will warn, so be advised of that. But if there's anyone else who wants to do it, I'm certainly willing to consider it, but I'm willing to stay.
Considering, in fact, Mr. Sellers just sat through a 4-hour bylaw presentation at CSBA, I think he should stay as the CSBA delegate.
Is anyone else interested?
That's
Hey, you're really selling it there, Mr. Zane.
that's
All
what
right.
that's what you get when you lose an election.
All right, so Mr. Sellers will remain our CSBA Delegate Assembly. Palomar Health was Mr. Patapow, and I believe those were approximately quarterly. I don't know, actually. They may have been more frequent than that. I'm not sure. Do we have any interest in picking up Palomar Health?
I'd be willing to do that.
Okay, is there anyone else interested? No? All right, Mr. Sellers, it's all yours. Thank you. City of Poway Subcommittee Liaison. This was Mr. Patapowa and Mr. Sellers. I am actually interested in this one this time around. Who else is interested? Mr. Sellers, are you interested? No? Okay. Did you ever go? Did they ever hold anything?
No, I can't say that I did.
Okay, well, I'll keep an eye on it.
The bar is real low for you.
I am interested in it. I did attend one such meeting. I think it was the first meeting that was held in quite some time. Miss Beatty, I can't. Were you at that meeting? I can't recall.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. And I found it informative, and I know that there's still some conversations that need to continue regarding the Poway Center for the Performing Arts, among other projects.
That's part of why I want in on that.
I'd like to continue being part of those conversations.
Ms. Beatty or Dr. Patel, are you interested in this one? Willing to let this one go? Okay. City of San Diego Subcommittee Liaisons. This was Mr. Zane and Mr. Sellers. Did this group ever meet?
Monthly. Charles and I got together with the City of San Diego. It's overwhelming workload. So.
I take it no.
No, it's never met. It's never met.
Anyone interested in maintaining this arduous position, or?
I'd be happy to step up and I'll make sure they meet.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Dr. Patel, taking on the hard work.
In spite of the threat of actually having to meet now, I'd like to stay on.
Okay. Mr. Sellers, are you interested in maintaining this one? Okay, so for that I have Dr. Patel and Mr. Zane. Poway Chamber of Commerce Liaison. This is Mr. Sellers.
I would like to keep that.
You want to turn on your mic? Tell us a little bit about that.
They meet regularly. They have social functions, which I go to purely on a professional basis, and they also have a government affairs committee that meets bi-monthly at like 7 in the morning. But it is interesting because you get to meet with staff members from each of the elected officials and I dig that stuff. So
that's my time of day. I would love to come along on some of those once in a while. Yeah, anything after 10 a.m. I'm out, but if it's before 10 a.m., yes.
Yeah,
please.
it's in deepest, darkest Poway.
So I'd like to volunteer to be the alternate on that one.
Okay.
If you'd like to keep it, is anyone else interested in that one before we move on? Okay. Looks like Mr. Sellers, and I will take alternate. San Diego North Chamber of Commerce Liaison was Mr. Zane. Another tough one.
Oh,
huh?
man, I'm telling you. They've never met, or I've never met as a subcommittee with the San Diego North Chamber of Commerce, but I'm happy to reach out to them, see if they'd like to engage with us if we want to reinstitute that position.
Is anyone else interested in helping Mr. Zane engage? All right, with that, it's yours. Our Palomar Council PTA board representative is rotating, and I believe we all kind of have our assignments for the coming months on that. The final one is the San Diego County Board of Supervisors representative. This has been Mr. Sellers and Mr. Zane. What does that look like?
Since we lost our one Democrat on the County Board of Supervisors, I'm going to decline that.
Okay. How often did that group meet?
Well, there was no group per se. It was an informal thing. I like I said, my only relationship was with Dave Roberts, and so I would informally consult him from time to time, and I sort of viewed that as an informal constitution of this meeting. And I'm sure TJ did the same thing.
Right. Well, they met as regularly as the San Diego North Chamber of Commerce committee did.
You have volunteered for all the really hard ones, I just want to point out. Okay, so it sounds like that would be Mr. Zane again, unless someone else wants in on that.
I am happy to say, just things that they are, I've got a good relationship with the new superintendent, or supervisor, so I'm happy to continue on in that role.
Is anyone else interested in that before I mark him down for this last one? Okay, and that is it there. California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly is our next item, and the final one, I think, before we move to our student representatives. Yes, it is. So,
Man, they were waiting tonight.
yeah. So, Dr. Apostle, would you like to introduce this one? Because I'm not sure. Oh, you know, we did put this one off as a group last year. Would we like to bring this up another time, or do you? I would defer to Mr. Sellers on this, since you've been our representative in this group.
No, all this is the appointment of me to the because we get one seat. The election from the at-large people comes, I believe, in March.
Okay, so do we need a vote on that? Do we need a vote on this? We already have, by consensus, reappointed Mr. Sellers? No vote necessary. Okay. Whew, it's you guys. You're up. All right. Oh, and I have new names. Thank you very much. And everyone's here. Which order to go in? I'm going to go backwards. From Westview High School, Annie Vu. Welcome. Thank you for your patience.
Good evening. Westview has had a lot to celebrate since I last reported. We were excited to see that Westview was ranked 10th best high school in California by niche. This was a huge accomplishment for our school and is a testament to the all effort and hard work by our students and staff daily. Also, our library just installed 2 Fit Desk stationary bikes to help students who are studying for exams cope with stress. Students can read and write while they are exercising. The Westview Foundation approved the idea after it was pitched by our wonderful school librarian. Our new Fit Desks were featured on NBC. In the spirit of the holiday season, ASB is assisting NJROTC with their annual Toys for Tots drive. We have been collecting toys for 2 weeks. Toys are being collected in front of our gym where our annual winter dodgeball tournament is currently taking way. We started our tournament with 30 teams representing all demographics from our students, and we just wrapped up our silver bracket play today, and the rest of this week will be our gold bracket. It is truly awesome to see so many students and staff and administration come together this time of year and just have some fun. Our stands are packed every day at lunch, and the spirit on campus is infectious. It has been an eventful month for our performing arts program. Dance troupe started their performing arts winter concert season with 'Tis the Season to Be Dancing. The show featured contemporary jazz, lyrical, and hip-hop dancing. Our band then put on a wonderful sold-out concert titled "Into All a Good Night." Band, along with choir, gave a sneak peek of their winter concerts for the entire school last Friday during our annual all-school winter performing arts assembly. This week, choir will close the concert season with their show titled "Comfort and Joy." In the athletic world, all the fall sports have wrapped up and the winter sports are just beginning. Congratulations to our girls cross country team. We are Division I champs and placed 15th in the state. Our girls tennis team finished up as runner-up in the open division, and lastly, we are proud of 4 of our fall athletes being named all CIF. While our students and staff are excited for the much-needed break, soon after we return, we will be wrapping up Semester 1 and preparing for schedule changes in Semester 2. It's been an exciting month, and happy holidays to you all.
Thank you. From Rancho Bernardo High School, Jalen Rasul.
Good evening, community members and our new and old board member positions. My name is Jalen Rasul, and I'm the representative from Rancho Bernardo High School. We have a lot of things to be proud of this month at Rancho Bernardo. We had our holiday winter assembly last Friday, and this week is our holiday spirit week, which includes our door decorating contest. The dance concert took place last week and was a huge success with 3 nights of full houses. We are extremely proud of our football team, who went undefeated until playing Helix in the semifinals. The team had an overall record of 44-3 over the past 4 years. Seniors are still starting to receive acceptance letters back from colleges and getting ready for the January 1st deadline. ASB and their annual Gingerbread House contest with the themes National Holidays. We had a fun activity at lunch involving students putting wishes on a holiday tree in the small quad. ASB will be granting the wishes this week. We also have a lot of things that we're excited about and working on. This week, we have our band, orchestra, and choir concerts to get us in the holiday spirit. We are wrapping up our school-wide food drive by gathering all the items and delivering them on Thursday. Students and staff wrote holiday grams, which were positive notes to all staff and students, and will be delivered to classes Thursday and Friday. Our first term in the 4x4 will be ending when we get back from break. We start all new classes starting January 17th. Winter Formal will be held after we get back from break and will be at the Escondido Performing Arts Center. The theme is Once Upon a Winter's Dream. Winter sports have begun with boys and girls basketball, boys and girls soccer, girls water polo, and wrestling. Our roller hockey team is currently undefeated and are off to a great start. Most of our teams have been playing tournaments and will begin league playoffs when we get back from break. Thank you and have a great holiday season.
Roller hockey sounds exciting. I think I got to check one of those out. Gosh. All right. Poway High School. Simon Shapiro, welcome.
Good evening. Poway has had an exciting month. Right before November break, Poway Unified was in the news for reported incidents of post-election racial tensions. The stories were shot in Poway High's campus, and a lot of negative attention was directed towards us. In response to the news stories, students held a before-school rally to show the community what we, as a Titan family, are truly about. The rally, held early in the morning, featured the drumline, students from the choir, and multiple staff members, as well as student leaders who gave speeches, each promoting and communicating our campus culture of Poway unity. 3 news stations came to the rally, and many of our students were interviewed about the accepting environment they have experienced as a student of Poway Unified. Never before have I been more proud to be a Titan. After the rally, students gladly welcomed their much-needed 1-week break, when seniors fill out college apps and other students studied to cushion their grades before finals. Last week, Titan wrestler Quinton Hovis placed first in the Ironman Wrestling Tournament, the most competitive wrestling tournament in the entire country, including a triumphant victory over the #1 wrestler in the U.S. This past month, ASB has made efforts to promote kindness on campus, giving students a kindness challenge to complete each day. The kindness challenges have created a noticeable shift in our school culture, and student participation seems to be high. Since it is the season to give, Poway held a canned food drive in which they collected over 3,000 cans for local families in need of assistance during the holidays. This week is Winter Spirit Week, and students are dressed up in their pajamas, their snow gear, holiday sweaters, and holiday hats. Speaking of holiday cheer, this Friday during school is our annual Winter Assembly, in which band, orchestra, and choir all perform in concert. ASB recently held its elections, and the new ASB president was chosen, as well as the new class officers. Since our ASB president is the representative at the Board of Education meetings, this will be my last time having the privilege to update you. Don't worry, the next guy is fantastic. Thank you for listening. Go Titans.
Obviously saw me looking crestfallen. We'll miss you. Thank you very much. And I just want to comment that I did see all of the news coverage, and talk about turning the story. Your rally at Poway High was tremendous, really. That was awesome. Very impressive. Thank you. From Mount Carmel High School, Grace Hard.
Good evening, board members. I am pleased to be informing you on what's been going on at the Mount. Our fall sports have ended and our winter sports have finally begun. We will be presenting our varsity athletes at our winter pep rally. This year's theme is Pick Your Playlist, in which various music genres will be played, and we will be playing a huge game of Rock Band in front of the whole school. Along with our pep rally, we are very excited for Winter Formal, which is on January 28th, and the theme is Starry Night. Here at MC, we take pride in educating our students, and we are constantly working hard to ensure our students continue to be successful after high school. Last weekend, band had yet another tournament in which they won first place. Joy Park, who was in band, says, "Band gives me something to look forward to and work hard for every week, and since we won first place every tournament, it felt good, and so worth all of the hard work." Thank you for listening, and remember, it's great to be a Sun Devil.
Thank you very much. Del Norte High School, Reagan Cloutier. Welcome.
Good evening, board members. It is my honor to be presenting to you tonight. Here's what's been happening in the nest. College ready. Trimester 2 is off to an awesome start. As usual, Nighthawks have been doing great in their classes, but they are also extremely eager for the upcoming winter break. Seniors are also finishing up their college apps with some of the last deadlines approaching in January. Future focused. This week is Spirit Week at Del Norte. Today was Holiday Day. Students wore their holiday colors on campus to add a little cheer to the very exciting season. Tomorrow will be Snow Day, and Nighthawks are very excited because supposedly it's supposed to be cold tomorrow. This Spirit Day is usually hit or miss depending on the weather, but it is definitely a fan favorite. ASB is also hosting our annual Winter Pep Rally this Friday, which is sure to be a hit. There will even be a few surprise performances which have been under wraps and in planning for several months now. Our girls volleyball team finished out their season Nighthawk strong. They are the Palomar League champs, CIF champs, and they made it to the second round of state playoffs. We are so proud of them and all the hard work they've done this year. Our boys cross country team won the Palomar League title, and they placed third at CIF, qualifying them for a bid at the state championship meet. With the end of fall sports comes the beginning of our winter sports. They are in full swing right now, and most teams are engaging in tournament play. Our wrestling team recently had a huge win over Mission Hills. We also hosted the What I Wish My Parents Knew panel. We had several Nighthawks lead the panels on different topics such as drugs and alcohol, academic pressure, and parenting. In November, Band and Color Guard competed in one of their biggest competitions of the year and earned top scores in all categories. Our band also held their winter concert this past week, and it was amazing. Nighthawks are also looking forward to the annual Winter Dance concert this week. Globally aware, Key Club collected 40 books to distribute as holiday gifts to the Los Penasquitos Blast program. This year, with the help of our generous Nighthawk families, we exceeded our fundraising goal in the support of the annual AVID and PTSA Adopt a Family campaign and raised over $8,000 for the program. 20 Nighthawk families and over 100 people will now be receiving support during the holiday season. We also hosted our annual Global Awareness Week, where we encourage students to learn more about the world around them and to embrace diversity. We had a culture show, a speaker, and several different activities during lunch. And to conclude, we also held our $1 for Life fundraiser. We raised $1,000, which will go towards building a birthing center in Nepal. Thank you for listening, and as always, it's a great day to be a Nighthawk.
If anyone at your Spirit Holiday Wear Day can beat Ms. Arbizo, you need to take a picture and tweet it because I think that is amazing. Welcome, Emerald Arbizo from Abraxas High School. I love it. This wins first prize. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to update you on what's been going on at Abraxas since October. We had a successful Red Ribbon Week, and 19 students from the transition program attended the 2016 Jobtoberfest at Balboa Park and learned about companies in San Diego County who are supporting individuals with disabilities in the workplace. 26 students took the food handlers exam and received their San Diego County food handlers certification. The transition program has a new job site at Phil's Barbecue, which already employs some of our transition students. Recently, 2 of our students in the transition program have been employed at Stater Brothers and Vaughn's. We had a very joyous Jacko Smash event. Many of our students, staff, and board members enjoyed the morning running a race, launching pumpkins, and playing baseball with some of the Padres. The transition program made the pumpkin succulent centerpieces for the VIP breakfast. Our leadership class visited Brookview Senior Housing and made pumpkin succulent centerpieces with the residents. Abraxas' recycling group gave a presentation to Black Mountain Middle School, Twin Peaks Middle School, and Otterbox about recycling toner and ink cartridges. Our transition students do the sales pitch, then collect and process the toner and ink cartridges for recycling. The money earned goes back into the transition program. Our Abraxas Action Club has participated in 2 events, one being Holidays with Heroes, where the students made blankets that go to the underprivileged students. These students then went on a shopping spree with a military veteran, the second one being a FFCC food packing event at one of the local churches will be sent to help those in Haiti, including Abraxas' community garden, which gives out our own food. After Thanksgiving break, Leadership Club implemented our annual Toys for Tots campaign. The students are very motivated about donating since our principal usually does an embarrassing stunt when we hit our goal. Leadership just finished a very triumphant shoe drive for Haiti. Teachers of the Year from Shoal Creek, Courtney Jennings, and Meadowbrook Middle School, Joe Gizzo, worked with Carol DeBruyn's leadership class to collect gently used shoes. Our goal was 400, but our total was 1,200. Leadership is also going to partner up with Salvation Army's Door of Hope. This organization provides housing for homeless women with children. Our leadership and agriculture class are very enthusiastic about kickstarting their community garden. The comprehensive high schools hosted alumni nights for the students in transition. Each high school held special presentations at one of their home football games. Praxis High School would like to thank each and every one of the high schools for taking the time to host a special event for the 38 transition students who attended these games. In regards to mental health awareness, Abraxas High School has created a delightful surprise for the students. Holiday stockings will be filled with personalized items and given to those who are emotionally and socially in need to lift their spirits. Also, leadership is in the process of creating all the Harry Potter themed decor for the transition formal, which will be held in March. And that is all from Abraxas High School. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Hit your goals. So what did Principal McLeod do? What embarrassing thing was it?
That's for the Toys for Tots.
Oh, it's not yet? Oh, that's going to be fantastic. All right, lots of photos, please. Thank you. Thank you so much for your patience tonight. I know it took us a while to get to you, so thank you. Thank you so much, though. I'll turn it over to Dr. Apostle now.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Students, you did a great job reporting out tonight. Thank you very much. We have many recognitions of note to present to the board this evening. Please look at your board packet for the full descriptions in B2. I encourage you to read them. In the interest of time, we will highlight a couple tonight. Rose Hong, a senior at Del Norte High School, was a national finalist in the Siemens competition in math, science, and technology. This was no small feat. She was one of 19 finalists out of 1,600 projects submitted. Her study focused on the possibility of wisdom teeth stem cells growing new teeth and generating bone cell growth. Not a simple research project. This week, she presented her work in the national finals in Washington, D.C., and was awarded a $10,000 scholarship. Barbara Scholl, our preschool and ESS director, was recently inducted in the International Educators Hall of Fame and was recognized by Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez in a ceremony in Anaheim. Congratulations, Barbara. We are lucky to have you.
Oh, she is here?
Here she is.
Oh, hey. Stand up, Barbara.
Stand up. Congratulations. At this time, I want to draw your attention to the screen for another Excellence in Education video by Studio 701, our new partnership between CTE, our communications director, and advanced digital media students. The goal was to create a pilot internship where the students could get real-world experience producing professional quality videos that would also increase awareness of programs that support our district's mission of college and career readiness. Tonight we're showing their second piece focused on middle school academies.
On any given day at Meadowbrook Middle School, photographers are taking pictures, 3D printers are creating, and digital artists are designing. These unique electives are all a part of Meadowbrook Middle School's Academy program, one of several in the Poway Unified School District.
These are opportunities for students that don't exist anywhere else, and I believe it helps generate their interest in what they want to do in the future.
That future focus is drawing hundreds of students to enroll in both Meadowbrook and Black Mountain Middle School's academies. These schools within a school offer extra instructional time so students can explore electives or academics more in depth.
I struggled with math in elementary, and it's just opened my horizon for all different types of math.
It can help me, branch off into certain topics that I like for myself and hopefully make a career out of that.
From Spanish to science, as Academy students develop their interests, they also build a foundation of study skills for their future.
In terms of college and career readiness, I think it builds a sense of work ethic that's going to go forward with them through high school and through college.
Making sure the students are equally invested in their own success is essential.
There's some collective commitments that have to be made, and essentially they all center around, you don't ever give up. You always put your best foot forward. You give the best effort.
You're held to a higher standard in grades and your actions.
That buy-in from students also empowers them to pursue a personalized education.
I think it's good for students and parents and teachers to have choices. I think that makes education more suited individually for student needs and strengths.
Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Apostle. And I think we did skip past a couple under A. Yeah, I knew that. So A10 is the approval of our agenda sequence. The recommendation here is to have L1 be considered after adjournment of the regular Board of Education meeting. Mr. Zhang.
I'd like to move approval of the agenda sequence with the recommendation that we move L1 instead to after D502.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, on a motion by Mr. Zane, second by, oh, we got to switch the names at the bottom here. You'll be Mr. Patapad tonight, apparently, on our vote count. And a second by Dr. Patel. The motion is to move L1 to after D502. Any discussion on this? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, and with Ms. Smith's preferential aye vote as well, that is unanimous. A11 is our approval of the consent calendar. I'd like to go down the row and start down at the end with Ms. Smith. If you'd like to pull anything, let me know.
Nothing to pull.
Mr. Sellers.
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing, thank you.
And nothing for me. This could be a first. Congratulations to us. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, on a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Dr. Patel. Oh, look, they switched you here. Okay, so you're switched on some of them.
Sometimes I'm
yes.
Andy and sometimes I'm
All right. All in favor of approving the consent calendar as presented? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then that with preferential vote by Ms. Smith, that passes unanimously. All right, and now we can go to item C, public comment. Clerk Patel, do we have any speakers this evening?
Yes, we do. We have 4 speakers today, and I will start with Mary Andrews.
Welcome.
You have 3 minutes to address the public.
My name is Mary Andrews, and I live in Rancho Penasquitos. I am speaking today as the chairperson for the Coalition for Effective School Board Leadership. The coalition was created by people who wanted to advocate for school board civility and effective decision-making. Over the past 9 months, the coalition did the work to endorse 2 candidates running for school board based on 6 criteria related to effective school board leadership. It was an amazing experience of collaboration, and I thank everyone who served as a member of a coalition, our supporters, and the candidates who sought our endorsement. So what happened? One of our endorsed candidates, Dr. Darshana Patel, received the most votes in the election. Our other endorsed candidate, Deborah Cooper, came in 3rd, just behind the incumbent and ahead of all others running. We believe these election results demonstrate a new mandate of positivity and collaboration on behalf of students. Early on, I was asked if the goal of the coalition was to elect 2 people so it could be a 4-1 vote instead of a 3-2 vote. My immediate response was no. I explained our goal was to endorse people who had the skills to get all 5 school board members to work effectively together. As the coalition experienced, it's not about having the same point of view. It's about collaborating together on behalf of students. It's about taking a stand for what you believe and remembering that the way in which you do that matters. More than once, we were thanked for being an oasis of positivity in the midst of a contentious storm. How points of views are expressed matters. Words matter. On behalf of all the voters who have voiced this new mandate, we encourage the new school board to take on business as effective school board leaders. 19 community members who represent the new mandate did the work to give you the words to remember who you, our elected officials, are expected to be. Number 1, leaders who demonstrate personal integrity, promote a positive atmosphere, and respect diverse viewpoints. Number 2, leaders who demonstrate focus on students and the educational reputation of our district. Number 3, leaders who demonstrate the ability to build consensus. Number 4, leaders who understand the complex issues related to public education. Number 5, leaders who understand school board governance and the role of a board member. And number 6, leaders who advocate fiscal responsibility, transparency, with an understanding of California education funding. We do not view this new board as adding a new member to the team. Fundamentally, this team has never existed before. When you form as a new school board, we encourage you to do so based on the mandate of positivity and a focus on students. And as we move forward as a district, as a community of people in partnership with you as leaders, let's take a moment to acknowledge one of the people whose shoulders you stand on. I first met Andy Pettipow when I led the Kids Health Initiative.
Your time is up.
Great, thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. I'm sure Andy'd be pleased to hear it. Okay, next is Katie Kempel. Is that correct?
Hello, thank you for your service to the community, and thank you for listening. I'm Katie Kempel, and my daughters Stella and Rosie are students at D39 campus. Tonight we have 8 parents representing various schools throughout the district in our audience. And our topic this evening is about health and nutrition at PUSD. We represent parents that want to create a culture within our schools that values healthy lifestyles. We believe we can accomplish this by creating a program that brings academics to life in our school kitchens, gardens, and lunchrooms, and by offering school options that are locally sourced, nutrient-dense, and free from key ingredient offenders. I'm presenting tonight with Heather, who I hope can go next. Thank you for your time.
Okay, the next speaker is Heather Wendland.
Oh, you got lucky.
Did I say that correctly?
Yes, perfect. Hi, I'm Heather Wendland, and my daughter Scarlett is a student at Design 39. President O'Connor Ratcliffe and other board members, I'm honored to be here and looking forward to working with you in the district. I'd like to start off by asking each of you to think about your friends and family. How many of them suffer from autoimmune disorders like celiac? How many of them struggle with obesity or are hyperactive and struggle to stay focused? Sadly, I bet everyone here has at least one person with these issues. I personally have several autoimmune disorders. While it took me years of research to understand them, I was able to get a strong handle on them through simple diet changes. According to ARDA, which is an autoimmune association, more people have autoimmune disorders than heart disease. The CDC says 9% of Americans suffer from type 2 diabetes, and 1/3 of our kids are overweight or obese. The FDA recently concluded that certain children exhibited more irritability, wiggles, and sleep issues when exposed to various foods and additives, including dyes. Do you know that research has linked poor diet and nutrition as one of the common denominators in all of these issues? In a collaborative effort, we want to spur a district-wide task force to start a conversation about this topic, which would benefit all PUSD students. Over the last 2.5 years, we've been working towards this at Design 39. We understand there are many like-minded parents throughout the district looking for a place to connect on this issue, and a district-wide task force would facilitate that interaction. Furthermore, we want you to know that Design 39 stands ready to serve as the model for other students and districts to follow suit. We can mobilize quickly to enact changes. if given the support at the district level. The parents in our community seem receptive to these changes. We've been surveying parents for the last 2 years, and here's what our most survey results told us. 75% buy lunch at least one time per week or more. The 25 that don't buy lunch don't buy it because of the menu options. They say they're limited, unhealthy, or poor quality. And 92% say they would pay $1 extra than $1 more than the current price for healthier options. 14% who don't buy lunch now say they would buy lunch if options were healthier, which obviously represents a new revenue stream. Additionally, we analyzed the ingredients in our current menu. We found many of these were not fresh but artificial, and many of them, like disodium dihydrogen pyrophosphate, could hardly be pronounced. The Poway Unified District Food and Nutrition Department states that they are committed to improving health through good nutrition that supports the learning process by offering high-quality, nutritious food choices. But from our analysis, we feel the stated goals are at odds with the reality, and we'd like to work together to change this. We have a team of willing parents that are really ready to do the work along with your partnership. Let's use this momentum to make an incredibly positive change.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to comment quickly. I think that you would probably benefit a lot with somebody contacting her to get her in touch and learn more about what we're currently doing in that area, and maybe there are some ideas that can be generated there. But yeah, I'll throw that towards Dr. Apostle. Yeah, thank you very much for your comments.
We have our last speaker, Ms. Janet Latang.
Good evening, Interim Superintendent Dr. Apostle, Superintendent's Council, and School Board. My name is Janet Latang. I'm the proud mom of 4, 3 adult children, and 1 high school junior at Poway High School. First of all, as a follow-up to my public comment last month, I am happy to report that my son did receive a spot in the PUSD Online U.S. History 1 class. Many thanks to Kathleen Porter and her staff to help fill the open spots for students who are on the wait list. Many PUSD students, particularly band students, find that they need to take summer classes or online classes to finish their requirements and keep band in their schedule. I would like to encourage the board to continue funding alternative programs in PUSD in the hopes that all PUSD students can receive the education they need through PUSD programs instead of taking classes outside of PUSD. Now on to the performing arts in Poway Unified. Man, is it a hectic December for concerts. I handed out a list to you of at least 35 concerts that are going on through PUSD in the month of December. It is amazing. Now, to gather this sheet, I went to 39 school websites and searched their calendars, and for the high schools, I looked on the calendar specific for each performing group, art, or band, orchestra, choir, drama, dance, to find all these performances. As you can imagine, that was a lot of work. In general, in PUSD, each school promotes its performances in its own way, largely to the family of the performers. PUSD performances are fantastic, and they're quite a bargain if you're looking for some great performances. I'm sure the community would love to have an easier way to find out about all of these fantastic performances. So here's my suggestion. I think it would be great if PUSD had one website clearinghouse that listed all the PUSD performances for the month, so that the community members could, and also students and teachers could go and look in one place to see what is going on, and then come to see our performances and to support our performing arts teachers, our student performers, and their performances. And we've got some great, fantastic students and teachers. In the board packet are outstanding music teachers Jack Erb and Jerry Webb, who are recognized for their nomination for a State Teacher of the Year. Also, Uli Renner was once again nominated as one of the 25 semifinalists for the Grammy Music Educator Award. And finally, we have students for all of our high school and likely even younger schools that are going for honor choir and honor band. And I hope that all of these kids who were nominated or made the honor groups would be recognized by you guys in the future. Thank you very much.
Ms. Letang, I just want to thank you so much for pulling this list together. This is fantastic. I should have mentioned in my board report, I watched my son perform Black Mountain Middle School Orchestra concert on the 8th, and it was just fantastic. And I've watched him and his classmates perform starting in 6th grade. Actually, some of them younger. The elementary in Los Penn Elementary, they were playing instruments in Los Penn Elementary and carrying all the way through. And their level of performance, you can see it by the 8th grade. My wife and I, back in the day when we had more free time, pre-3 kids, would go to the San Diego Symphony once in a while. We don't have the opportunity to do that anymore. The Black Mountain Middle School Orchestra, when they closed out with the 1812 Overture, blew my mind. Goosebumps. The students in Poway Unified are just slaying it when it comes to performing arts. So thanks so much for pulling this list together.
I was just going to note that I have a 5th grade band concert to attend on Friday morning as well. So yeah, you didn't get all of those ones for the elementary schools because they're morning, I see. But yeah, thank you very much for this. Now I have something to do for the next 3 nights in a row. Thank you.
Thank you.
That takes us to our action items in D, and we'll start with D201. This is an action to amend employment agreement for the interim associate superintendent business support services. Ms. Hueso.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, interim superintendent Dr. Apostle. Staff respectfully submits for your consideration an amendment to the contract between the Board of Education and interim associate superintendent of business support services. There are 2 primary changes to the original agreement. One is to extend the period of the agreement from December 13, 2016 through a tentative end date of February 28, 2017. This will allow for us that we are going through the recruitment to allow some time to perhaps do either finishing off the work while we are transitioning to a new superintendent. The other change would be an increase in the terms of the hourly rate to match what has been agreed upon by the board to increase the salary range as we are recruiting for the position. Respectfully submitted for your consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions? And at this time, I'd take a motion.
I'll move approval. Mr. Zimsday wants to speak against it. I'm not sure. You're in favor of this? Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. On a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Dr. Patel, the motion is to approve the amended contract for Mr. Azimzadeh. Any further discussion? And I'm going to have Ms. Smith abstain on this personnel matter. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Congratulations. D202. State of California minimum wage increase affecting POSD non-represented employees. Ms. Hueso.
Thank you, Madam President. The staff is submitting for board approval a change to the currently hourly rate for non-represented employees to be able to match the minimum wage increase for the state of California that will be effective January 1, 2017. Submitted respectfully for your consideration.
Any comments on this? Seems like a good summer to be a student lifeguard. Is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item D202 as stated.
Very official. Is there a second? I'll second this one. On a motion by Dr. Patel, second by O'Connor Ratcliffe. Is there any further discussion before we vote? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. And I'm sorry, that was also an abstention for our student. Actually, she doesn't need to abstain. She doesn't get to vote on this one. Thank you. D301, review and acceptance of the 2015-16 financial compliance and program audit. Mr. Azimzadeh.
Madam President, Aubrey King, a partner of the CPA firm of Wilkinson Hadley King, is here to present the 2015-16 annual audit of the district to the board and answer any questions that the board members may have regarding the audit report. After her presentation, I am recommending that the board accepts the audit report.
All right, thank you. Welcome.
It's an honor to be here tonight to discuss the audit of the 2015-16 fiscal year for the Poway Unified School District. Our audit began in April 2016 and continued and was issued just last month, or perhaps this month, on November 30th, so officially last month. There were a number of audit areas that changed in the current fiscal year. The uniform guidance for federal compliance became effective for the 2015-16 year, completely changing the laws surrounding federal program compliance. So there's a number of changes to the audit reports and the information presented therein. There were 5 additional state compliance areas added to the audit this year, which we took a look at as well. Skipping to the really exciting stuff all the way in the back, page 125, is a summary of our auditor's results. We issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, meaning that these financial statements can be relied upon as being accurate. We had 3 federal programs that we audited this year: Child Nutrition Cluster, Title I, and Title II Teacher Quality. And we had some findings which we issued this year as well. So I know that the board has some questions, and I would like to give some time to the board so that I may answer those questions.
Well, I know that Ms. Beatty had some questions, and she just stepped out.
Start with an easy one.
And okay, any other board members with questions? Yes,
I can give you an
Patel.
easy one to start. I just needed a clarification.
Sure.
On page 132, you have noted free and reduced meal plan as well as English language learners. One of the other categorical funds is for foster care, and that's not mentioned. Was that not?
That falls in other funded,
Okay.
and that is excluded from our audit
Okay.
As mandated by the state.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hesitant to move along without allowing Ms. Beatty a chance to ask her questions that I know she had. Well, okay. I guess at that point, maybe you can hang around just in case she
I will
steps
hang
back
around in
in
case she
and,
has some questions.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you. That would be great. Well, I'm not sure what happened there. I'd like to comment that I was really pleased to read the district's response to those audit findings regarding vacation payouts and purchase cards. Those findings, though clearly inspired by the VLS forensic audit the board did over the summer, were very helpful again to have here, because this is the first I've seen any administrative response to the findings. So I like what I read. I was very pleased. I hope and expect to hear more about the implementation of those changes in those 2 areas of vacation payouts and purchase cards. This is important. This is a priority for the board. I think I probably speak for everybody on the board when I say we need to be kept up to date on these corrective actions, so abuses aren't going to happen again and again. I loved reading the district's response to those 2 items in particular, so keep going, get aggressive, do more from my perspective. And I would, Mr. Zane.
I'm just trying to address your pausing here.
Yeah.
We don't know if perhaps Ms. Beatty's questions were answered offline when she did pose and get responses back to some of her concerns. So I don't know.
All right. Okay, fair enough. Are there any other questions or comments at this time? Then is there a motion to approve? accept the financial audit?
I'm not going to motion to not approve it, so I move to approve it. I think it's great. In the process of motioning to approve, I will say, and I think Board Member Sellers said it in a different setting more articulately, that no one likes to see problems arise as a result of an audit. On the other hand, we want to find things that are going wrong as a result of an audit, if you can follow that double negative there. But thank you for your hard work on this. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And is there a second on Mr. Zane's motion to approve? Second by Mr. Sellers. And any further discussion before I call the vote? All right, and I will go to our student preferential vote.
Motion to approve.
All right, you don't need to motion, you can just give me your vote. Yay or nay? All right, so I'm going to take that as a yay. All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have one abstention. Ms. Beatty has left the room briefly, so that motion does pass 4-1 with Ms. Smith's preferential vote. Also in favor.
It's actually 4-0. It's considered 4-0.
Oh, it's considered a 4-0. Excuse me. Thank you. Thank you. We will move on to D302, approval and certification of first interim financial report and approval of resolution number 13-2017 entitled Authorization to Revise the 2016-2017 Budget as reflected in the first interim financial report. Mr. Azimzadeh.
Yes, Madam President, we have revised the budget, and as you can see, the revised budget, the format we have changed a little bit. We used to present the budget together with the ins and outs of debits and credits of accounting. So now we separated those ins and outs, and as you can see from page 28 of what is presented to you, the first interim revision, we have made some changes to the budget.
Excuse me, I was getting a message past it. Could you repeat that, Mr.
Sure.
Azimzadeh?
We have changed the format of the budget presentation to you this time, and hopefully from now on we would be presenting the budget this way. We used to include the debits and credits of all the changes together with all the changes that actually happened to the budget. Now we have separated those. And if you look at page 2 of the first interim revision, okay, the top part is about the real changes in the budget, and the bottom part we have just included the ins and outs that they don't really have any effects on the budget. So with this, we have increased the LCFF revenues by 1.401337 as a result of the increase in enrollment. And in addition, we have adjusted the areas in the budget that we believed in the actual expenditures will be closer to the modified ones, and accordingly created a savings equal to $970,766. Therefore, revise the budget from the deficit of $16,379,251 went to $14,007,147. Then we revised the MYP report for the year 2017-18 and 2018-19. The proposed cuts for the year 2017-18 are now $7.5 million, and the cuts for 2018-19 will be $8.5 million. With these changes, I recommend that the board approve the proposed revised budget and filing a positive certification for first interim financial report of the fiscal year 2016-17. And also, Joe Ramiro, our Director of Finance, is present to answer any questions you may have regarding the criteria and standards that we have presented here to you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Azimzadeh or for Ms. Romero? Mr. Zane.
No questions per se. Thank you for your hard work on this. As I had stated in closed session, though, actually I'd like to ask the superintendent to see if we can't find a time in the first quarter of next year for a budget workshop for the board to start addressing some of these issues. We're encouraged on the positive, the movement's in the right direction, but there still is the underlying structural budget deficit issue to be dealt with. It's disconcerting to see our fund balance go from roughly $60,000 down to $16,000 over a 3-year period. The sooner we can address that, the better.
Sure.
Oh.
Pardon me?
Thousands, you mentioned.
Millions, pardon me. I wish it was just thousands. Move to approve.
Is there a second? On a motion by Mr. Zane, a second by Mr. Sellers, I'd just like to make one more comment, too, before we vote. I am just surprised. I find myself surprised that some of our savings in this first interim revision is from our routine restricted maintenance account, given how much maintenance we need. Does that come from another account? Am I mistaking what that's for?
Actually, that amount was in the reserves, and they were not really there. So we had not reported to Mr. Coster for that. So there's no,
so
he hasn't even seen that. So this was just a reserve in case if we needed to do that.
All right.
That's what I was told.
Do we have any more secret reserve money?
So Mr. Costa doesn't have to be worried about that. We haven't changed anything.
All right. Are there any other discussion points before we vote on this first interim? Okay, then I will restate the motion by Mr. Zane, second by Mr. Sellers, to approve the certification of the first interim budget. All in favor? Oh, and I'll start with our student vote at the end.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, with an aye vote from Ms. Smith, that passes 4-0. Thank you very much. All right, that takes us to D303. Award a contract for internal control audit services for the Poway Unified School District to Moss Adams LLP. Mr. Zimzadeh.
Yes. Following the direction of the board, a contract for internal control audit services to Moss Adams is presented for approval. Total fiscal impact will be an amount not to exceed $49,740, which include their professional fees and out-of-pocket expenses. The audit will take 3 to 4 months and can start after the end of this calendar year.
Are there any questions? Mr. Sellers.
Just a comment. I read the proposal by Moss Adams as well as their engagement letter. It all seems to be very much standard and in order. I didn't find anything unusual about it.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? All right, on a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Mr. Sellers, is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, I will go to our student preferential vote.
Aye.
Aye. Everyone else, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously 4-0. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing that. So we can expect that April-ish then.
The results?
Is what you said, yes.
Hopefully, yes.
April, okay, great. D304, award a contract for review and study of specific aspects of Poway Unified School District's special education operations to Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team, FICMAT. Mr. Zimzadeh.
Administration recommends approval of FICMAT conducting review and a study of a special education operations of the district, and for the cost not to exceed $41,000 from general fund.
Are there any questions for Mr. Zimzadeh? Dr. Patel.
I do have a few questions, and I apologize for not getting these to you sooner. I just got this report actually earlier today. The first question is on page 1, and they should all be easy questions. Under 2, section A, line 3, or item 3, it says, determine whether the district is over-identifying students, and then it gets to over-identification. Is misidentification also included in that? Do you know? Typically included? is the problem? Okay. And then another question I had is on page 3.
No one has the report in front of them
Oh.
except you, so you don't have to cite it, just read it.
Okay, so there's an item that talks about all out-of-pocket expenses are also included in project cost. I notice in the other contract that out-of-pocket expenses such as travel, meals, and lodging were their responsibility, and here it's our responsibility. Is there an assigned per diem or a budget associated with that, or is it just whatever they deem appropriate?
Whatever they deem appropriate. We don't have a separate amount for this particular contract. So I'm hoping that they would be fair and actually, would you like to speak, Madam?
Welcome.
From the consultant side that gets paid from them occasionally, they're very fair. It's a per diem that's actually more restrictive than the district's, Cameron.
Could you please introduce yourself briefly
Tim
for
Purvis,
Dr.
Director of
Patel?
Transportation. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Board Member Patel. Okay.
I have a couple of comments too. Questions regarding the continuum of services and least restrictive environment portion of the scope of work. I just want to verify that that is going to include examinations of our ASC program that may be phasing out at this point, ESY, our workability program, any dyslexia programs we may or may not have. Does that all go into that continuum of services? And I'm looking at Mr. Purvis, but I really should be addressing this to you, Mr. Zimzadeh.
Well, I don't know about the details of their work. I'm sorry. Maybe Dr. Robbins can tell you.
I think part of that process is working with our team also. So what we'll have to do is figure out what all those parameters are for their review.
Okay. Are you open to taking some
Absolutely.
board requests?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
great, because everything I just said, I'd love to see them look specifically at those 4 programs. I assume they would, because those are on our continuum of services. I did have another one. Down on number 7, their scope of work is service provider staffing ratios, basically. But I'm also interested in making sure that that includes an examination of the oversight of those service providers and possibly the chain of command involved with those service providers, because I think sometimes there have been some question marks. I'd love to see that part of this scope of work also, and I think that falls best under number 7. I think there are some issues under number 10 as well with the due process, mediations, and settlements examination, and I guess I can share those, but that has to do again with some question that I've had, and I hope they can look at it. The complaint resolution chain of command, some permission versus delegation, ratification by the board, and where do we fit into that? I love this. I think it's a great scope of work. I just want to make sure that it's broad enough. I think it is, but I want to make sure some of these things specifically fit in there, because I think this is very important for helping us stay proactive and maintaining our best practices, and something that's very expensive for our district and very, very important for our students. Any other comments or questions from anyone? I guess at this point this should still be questions technically.
I have one last question.
Dr. Patel.
Under project schedule, it has an item of board presentation of to be determined if requested and follow-up support as if requested. Is that included in the scope of work, or is that going to be extra?
Should be included.
Okay, so even the follow-up support is included? Okay, thank you. Nice.
And with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, is there any further discussion at this time? No? All right, let's see then, on a motion by O'Connor Ratcliffe, second by Dr. Patel. I will go to our student preferential vote.
Aye.
Aye. Everyone else, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes 4-0 with the student preferential vote also in favor. D501, we're going to Mr. Zimzadeh again.
Okay.
Never get tired of calling your name, but let me read the title. Approval of Resolution Number 27, 2017, entitled Ordering Judicial Foreclosure Pursuant to the Melrose Community Facilities Act of 1982,
of certain properties for which the payment of special taxes are delinquent, approving and ratifying certain actions of special counsel, and ordering that the tax collector be credited with those special taxes. Mr. Zimzadeh.
Yes. Resolution number 27, 2017 is presented for approval of the board. This resolution authorizes the superintendent or designee to proceed on behalf of the board with foreclosure procedures if it becomes necessary. I would like to mention that we have not had any foreclosure in the past, and hopefully we won't have, but we would routinely have to have this actually.
Are there any questions for Mr. Zimzadeh? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And a second? All right, on a motion by Mr. Zane, a second by Mr. Sellers. Any further discussion? All right, student preferential vote.
Aye.
Aye. Everyone else, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously 4-0 with the preferential vote also in favor. D502, approval of resolution number 28, 2017, entitled Authorizing and Providing for the Issuance of Special Tax Refunding Bonds of Poway Unified School District Community Facilities District Number 11 for Zone 2 and 3, approving the form of separate bond indentures and first supplemental indentures, special tax refunding bond purchase contract, bond purchase agreement, preliminary official statement, and other documents, and authorizing certain actions in connection with the issuance of such bonds. Mr. Azimzadeh.
Resolution number 28, 2017 for the CFD number 11 is presented for approval of the board. We anticipated that we would have a lot more savings for this. Just about like in September, we thought that it would be about 46.67% savings. But unfortunately now we anticipate about 19.03%. Because of the market conditions right now. But I am recommending that the board approves the resolution for the CFD number 11.
I have a question. I realize this is still a savings and still within the parameters of our board policy, and a savings of 19% is still very significant. But is there a chance that if we wait, this is going to look better? What are we forecasting? Are we just going downhill at this point?
I think that since the interest rates are going up and they're anticipated to keep going up, probably the savings would be less if we wait.
So fast.
So I think there would be we're going to go out to market actually in January for this, and hopefully this will, be the savings that we anticipate. It could be less, I don't know.
But it'll still fall
as
within
of
our
this time, it's about
parameters, or it
19% that we anticipate.
Okay.
And this will be the last refunding that we'll bring you for a while because of the market conditions and everything that's going on.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you. Motion to approve by Mr. Zane.
Second.
Second by Dr. Patel. Any discussion at this point? All right, and for our preferential vote?
Aye.
Aye, all right. One preferential vote. Everyone else, all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
That's 3-1 and does pass with our preferential vote also in favor. So at this time, I need to briefly adjourn our regular board meeting to reconvene as the Public Financing Authority, since we're going to jump to L1. So, all right, we'll adjourn at 8:10. And, here we are, back. The Public Financing Authority will now come to order at 8:10. This is Chairperson, Board President, Vice Chair is Board Vice President, Secretary and Clerk is the Board Clerk. And then our Executive Director is our Interim Superintendent, and Auditor, Treasurer is our Interim Associate Superintendent of Business Support Services. So at this time I will, I guess I still read this one. Okay, L1 is the approval of Resolution 29, 2017, entitled Authorizing and Providing for the Issuance of Special Tax Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 2017B, approving the form of an indenture of trust, the form of an escrow deposit and trust agreement, bond purchase agreement, special tax refunding bond purchase contract, funding allocation agreement, preliminary official statement, continuing disclosure agreement, and other documents, and authorizing certain actions in connection with the issuance of such special tax revenue refunding bonds. Mr. Azimzadeh.
I recommend approval of the resolution as presented.
Any questions from anyone on our authority here?
Just a procedural one. Does this one require a public hearing?
I don't think so.
No?
Not noted
Okay.
on
Motion
that.
to approve.
Second that. So on a motion by the chairperson, second by vice chair, I'm sorry, motion by vice chair, second by chairperson. Is there any further discussion? I'm not sure I'm supposed to be running this vote. Should it be Dr. Apostle running the vote? My apologies. Feel free to take over. Stepping on toes, excuse me.
Well, I'm not really sure what the next step is. Okay, so at this time, we'll call for a vote by the board. At this time?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against?
I said aye. Yeah.
They're down there too, all right. And you voted?
And you vote, yeah.
Did you vote? Oh, yeah, you.
Aye.
All right.
So we done.
Conclude the vote. It passed
That's it.
unanimously.
That concludes the vote, and it passes unanimously.
Fantastic. Then, as the chairperson, I'll adjourn our Poway Unified School District Public Financing Authority, and I'll bring us back. Yes, we're all here. So let's reconvene as the Poway Unified School District Board of Education at 8:12. We're back. Into G205, Annual Disclosure and Certification of Estimated Accrued but Unfunded Liability for Self-Insured Workers' Compensation Claims, Fiscal Year 2015-16, and Submittal of Annual Workers' Compensation Self-Insurers Report to State. Ms. Huezo.
Thank you, Madam President. As indicated, this is for the information of the board. This is a requirement both under Education Code and Government Code to inform the board of where we stand in terms of the unfunded liability for self-insured under workers' comp. The item does explain what the history has been in the district, and it's an obligation of staff to present this information to the board. If there's interest in reading the full audit report, it is available in the Department of Risk Management for those that may be interested.
Any questions for Ms. Huezo? All right, seeing none, we can move on to G310, Enrollment Report 3, 2016-17. Mr. Azimzadeh.
The enrollment report for the month 3 of this school year is presented for board review. We had 35,951 students at the end of the third month, which represents a net gain of 36 over month 1 of this year. And the attendance rate for the month 3 was 97.15%. The average ADA by end of the third month was 97.48.
I hope there's been a rash of illnesses and not some other explanation for that. I don't like to see us dropping. We're going to have to consider truancy officers getting to work again. Any questions or comments on this item? Thank you, Mr. Azimzadeh. This takes us to new board business. I do have something, but I'll open it to everybody else first. Anything out there? Mr. Zane.
Sure. Just one item. It's more a request, I suppose, of the superintendent with board concurrence, I imagine, to reach out and see if we can't, again, another first quarter item preferably, schedule a presentation with Dale Scott and Associates to discuss the possible refinancing of some of the now infamous cabs. It's been an ongoing discussion item for some time, and I think we've we're at a point where we ought to push forward and see what we can do and possibly refinancing some of those cabs.
I would agree with the need for that. I would be very interested to hear what Mr. Sellers has to share, since he most recently heard a presentation from Dale Scott and Associates on this. I'd be interested in that, to go along with a presentation like that, or to happen beforehand.
No, and just in general terms, he was indicating that unlike the Melrose bond refunding, which seems to sour as the interest rates rise, are actually our market for refunding or refinancing, not even refinancing, but going out and buying back the cabs actually improves as the interest rate rises. And so he thinks that the market is heading in our favor, and he thinks B, that Poway is a good candidate. It's a long story, and they've got a lot more under their belt, and they haven't all succeeded, but he thinks we're a good candidate. So I would be anxious to hear what he had to say about our situation specifically.
I'm envisioning that this is probably a board workshop, and I'm thinking with the superintendent interview schedule in January, we'd probably want to put this into February.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it doesn't appear that time is working against us. It actually appears it's working in favor as the
so presentation sooner rather than later, and then we can
right. And yeah, and other than we're all up in 2 years, so I don't want to go back to the voters and say we didn't do anything or we didn't try to do anything.
Fair enough. Okay. I think then we do have some consensus on getting some kind of a presentation again.
We'll coordinate
February-ish.
We'll coordinate with the board and offer some optional dates and times.
That sounds fantastic. Does anyone else have anything to offer at this point? Because that was actually on my list, but I agree. I concur. I would like to agendize just during our regular board meeting for discussion some of our board goals for 2017. I think each of us have some goals that we probably should put out there to make sure that we don't let them slide by when, crisis time enters. I hope it's over, but this past year we let a lot of things go because we were putting out fires, and that was absolutely valid. But I'd like to get back to looking at some of our individual board member goals as well to see how we can fit those in, and if we're in agreement that these would be great ideas for the district. I'd also like, and this is on a different matter, I've mentioned it before, but I'd like to discuss, only for discussion, doing an RFQ for a grant writer for our district. There's a lot of money out there, and I know our sites do this, our district office personnel does this, everybody does a little bit here, there, and everywhere. I think there's a real opportunity for us to contract with professional grant writers who do this for school districts all over our region and all over the state. I hate the idea that there's money out there that we're not applying for. I'd love to talk about this and put this in discussion for next month, and maybe if staff has some thoughts on it and could offer us some ideas and information about how that RFQ might work that we could talk about next month. Other than that, I think most of the other things on my list are things that I can bring up under board goals discussion next month, so I will pause there. Anyone else? Ms. Smith?
I think last month we had a speaker who was talking about the state of the Westview Theater, and we just had one individual talk about all the amazing performing arts programs. And I just want to highlight that Westview Choir has 2 performances this Thursday and Friday, I believe. So if anybody would like to go, 7 o'clock, and I believe it's $5, Westview Theater.
What a deal. All right. We have no correspondence. That means we are on our way out to a 2-week break. We would love to see you back in 2017. Our next regularly scheduled board meeting will be held Tuesday, January 17th, my daughter's birthday. She's not happy with me. At 6 p.m. here. And with that, we are adjourned at 8.